Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the October 8th regular meeting. We have had a chance to take a look at these. Anybody have any questions, any changes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved. Second?
Mr. Mearsfall.
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard.
Yay.
Mr. Wade.
Yay. And moving on to fiscal business, we have the fiscal officer's report. Anything?
Yes, sir. We can go ahead and start off with the current bills. You received a couple emails detailing the bills that are due paid, and if there's any questions, it's ready for your action.
All right. We have had a chance to take a look at the current bills. Anybody have any questions or comments about the current bills? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the bills as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard.
Yay.
Mr. Mearsfall.
Yay.
Mr. Wade.
Yay. And item C, we have Resolution 5126, a resolution approving, modifying, or denying the investment policy and guidelines recommended by the fiscal officer.
Yes, sir. This is the investment policy. The last time we had updated this was in 2009. What I wanted to do was bring back before the board an updated version of the investment policy. It's very similar to what we had before. It changed the order of a couple things in terms of in importance, and also specifically got rid of a couple of investment types of reverse repos and equities. So, I mean, these are things that are already banned in Ohio Revised Code. A lot of jurisdictions put those in there, so we went ahead and put them in ours.
Okay. We have had a chance to take a look at these. You guys, anybody have any questions about Resolution 5126? No. Matt, any comments about 5126?
I appreciate Mr. Crowless doing the legwork on it, looking into it, surveying other government communities and coming up with a concise and quality document.
So I'm sure as
Mr. Wade, I've seen four or five other jurisdictions I represent, so yeah.
Very good.
Yep.
And this will totally void our prior.
To replace it.
Okay. So a motion to approve 5126.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Mearsfall.
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard.
Yay.
Mr. Wade.
Yay. And we have Resolution 5127, a resolution amending 2018 revised permanent appropriations with supplemental and reallocated appropriations.
Okay, this is, again, several items that are typical about this time of year where we start moving money around to make sure that we can pay our bills legally. Our legal level of control is at the object level, which means that every single account is subject to the limitations of the budget. And with that in mind, there's a number of movements in there. Number A is the inspection account, and we had during since the last meeting, we had found out that a resolution that the board had passed in 2015 and 16 hadn't been applied consistently since that time, and specifically in this particular case, even though you passed a resolution authorizing the movement of money in 2017, that movement of money was not done. And so, to allow me, even though I have the authorization to move the money in it, I can't move it until there's enough authorization inside that budget line item. So number A, where you see from 0 to 52,000, that will take care of the apportionment of interest for that particular period of time from 2017, which actually covered all of 2016's interest.
So at the time, we had a motion to move the money, but it never happened.
Well, yeah, you actually passed a resolution.
Yeah, legislation.
Yeah, the resolution. A couple of pieces of resolution.
Okay.
So So we need the authorization to go ahead and fix that.
Is that right?
In not doing that, what damages or harm was there to the township?
Other than, the money was there, it just wasn't in the right fund. You guys passed this legislation with the intent to apportion interest. And by not doing that, it didn't meet what you guys had set forth in the legislation. So,
Which department did not get the interest? Or was there several?
there were several. There are 4 that are in the modified resolution for apportionment. And so this will enable us to move money from the general fund to the appropriate fund. And the total of the two is just south of $52,000.
Okay.
And our intention with this, when we passed it in 2015, was for the interest income to go to the funds where the interest was gained. And that was not executed. Is that as simple as it is?
Yes. We're going to fix it.
So the concern I have, and I know, Russ, you're on top of this now, but this is where an accounting background comes in pretty handy, because we have department heads that we have tasked with managing their budget, managing the money they have, and if they don't know what the money is, and that's what the challenge has been for a while, that you've fixed since you've been appointed to office, this is exactly the type of thing that makes their job easier, because they actually know the money they have.
It's really hard to be able to budget money properly when you don't know how much you have.
And the line that you just used, we heard quite a bit for a long time, which was, well, we have the money, but it was in the wrong place. That doesn't help John run the police department, it doesn't help Scott run roads, doesn't help Steve. It's very, very disturbing to me, but thank goodness that you stepped up to serve, because you've done a great job, and this is a biggie, obviously.
But we did get the interest, but.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we didn't lose the interest.
No,
No,
sir.
the money was
It
there.
just went into the general fund.
Got it.
You know, we're going to have a further discussion of that at the next resolution.
Shortly.
Okay.
Shortly.
Okay. Anything else other than the obvious ones that we're reading here that you want to point out, Russ?
No, we'll go ahead and start the next one here in a minute and
All right.
further.
All right, then I'd like to entertain a motion to approve 5127.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Gabbard.
Yay.
Mr. Muersfall.
Yay.
Mr. Wade.
Yay. And we have 5128, a resolution approving, modifying, and denying a transfer of funds from the general fund to other funds in amounts equal to investment income generated by those funds for the 2017 and the first 3 quarters of 2018.
Yes, sir. This resolution is the amount of interest that was earned for the 4 funds for all of 2017 and the first 3 quarters of 2018. As was originally put out, the 4398 in 2013, and then I think it was modified as 4535 in 2014. The apportionment was supposed to go to 4 different funds in the amount of money that they had at the time that the interest was earned. So it's a true apportionment of the interest. Ohio Revised Code states that any interest that is earned on any of those funds has to go into the general fund. And then it's up to the board. At that point, they have the ability to write legislation, which you did, that enables them to move that money from the general fund to any other fund. One of the things that I talked about in the email that I sent to you was, you don't have to do this. Obviously, if you pass the legislation, you feel very strongly about doing it. And I don't mind if you pass this legislation, it won't hurt me at all, because it's what your intent was. And if you continue to do that, you can. You don't have to do that. You can use that money to pay roads or to do any other special projects. If you need money for a development project that you need to do, any of those items, you can do that and use that money for that particular process. Now, having said that, there is a moral thing of if you have the money and they put it in there,
Well, the bottom line, if the fire department had money we invested and they made interest money, we felt at the time when we set this up that they should get the benefit from that money that they invested out of their funds. So I don't think that we've changed our mind on this. So
I have not at all.
you have any?
Well, that's fine. You know,
Well, I think
again,
we do want to-
one of the things you asked me to do was to look for ways to further your goals. And I know that was one of the things you want to make sure that you have money for streets, and this is an opportunity to do that. And again, it won't hurt me at all if you bring these forward, so.
Russ, just to be clear, and you and I had this conversation on the phone, but I want to say it in public. Particularly in the police and fire, some of this is levied money. So we've taxed the residents over the years for that. So, and I always take it back to a simplistic example. If my daughter saves her money and she puts it in a savings account, I don't think I should be able to take her interest if I need to put a new door on the house. We've got to manage within our general fund and make decisions based on that. But based on the growth that we've experienced and everything else, I think every dollar that those categories can get, they should get, so.
On a clarification, that's not some levy money, it's all levy money.
I understand.
But again, that's part of what you hired me to do, was to.
Sure.
To look at that, so.
Okay.
No problem, I have no problem. Then you need to pass this legislation, the next two pieces of legislation, in reality. The first piece of legislation actually specifies the dollar amount that we'll be transferring from the general fund to these four recipient funds. And as a note too, we'll make sure that in next year's budget, the 2019 budget, we'll allocate those projected resources to those particular funds.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions or comments about 5128?
Good catch.
Yeah. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve 5128?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah. Moving on to resolution 5129, a resolution amending the 2018 revised permanent appropriations with supplemental appropriations.
And this is just the second part of this.
Second part of that, cleaning up. Any questions about 5129? So motion to approve 5129.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah. Anything else under fiscal
Nope.
business at this time?
I am done, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. And next on the item is public comments. And see, we do have a lot of public here. I'd like to hold off for you guys until we get to item number 2, which I think is why you're here, under the new business planning and zoning department. We'll keep those items together. So if we're moving on to new business under planning and zoning, we have resolution 5130, a resolution initiating text amendments to refine minimum lot size requirements in multiple zoning classifications of Clifton Township.
Yes, sir. Last meeting, there was discussion on which direction was given. Let's go ahead and look at this option with regards to drainage easements. And what the current language states is that drainage easements, regardless of size, because it just says drainage easements are cut away from minimum lot size. Warren County subdivision regulations require minimum 5 foot per side, 15-foot rear. This is an attempt to give that acreage back as a calculation back to minimum lot size. But if you had something in excess of those numbers, whether it's a foot, 50 foot, it would then be something that would be subtracted from minimum lot size. So the intent is that the way in which it's written, it says drainage easements in the new language in excess of the minimum size or sizes established by the Warren County subdivision regulations for a plat. So it references back to those numbers. So it's something we can always look back for and say, this is the minimum. You could 7 foot, you were supposed to have 5 foot by the regulations, so if you exceed the 2, that 2 foot now is a reduction from your minimum lot size. That's applied to all lots. There was some discussion where it should it be. We're inside a caution applying to all properties, so it'd be done equally. So if initiated, this would go before Warren County Regional Planning, the zoning commission, and go back to you with the public hearing.
Very good. Something that's maybe needed to be done for a while.
Well, it's been sitting out there since 2005. We've had some turned down in development. This is something that, as we're starting to grow back up, people are looking at our regulations, trying to figure out what to do, and it makes sense actually to make this modification for clarity.
Okay. Any questions for Jeff about 5030? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve 5030?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Mearsclaw today. Mr. Gabbard.
Yay.
Mr. Wade.
Okay, and now we have the update of Mentwood Road connection between Several Hills and Sway Farm subdivision. Jeff will start it off, and then we'll have public comments. And if you would, when you have some comments come up to the podium, be sure to state your name and address. Because this is all recorded, so it's all public record, so we do need that information, please. Jeffrey, if you would.
All right, so back in September, in anticipation of a zoning commission meeting that was held October the 1st, I came before the board and tried to get some understanding about what are we going to do with this area of connection. Do we have the connection? Do we not have the connection? And individually, basically the consensus was, let's explore the option of vacation of that space. So in essence, taking public road right-of-way and making it private, so therefore the option of connecting two subdivisions was eliminated. When the zoning commission actually had their public meeting, because I had free discussion with the developer, actually brought an alternative B, which created a cul-de-sac. Those are on the board. Ultimately, the first option was a T connection that intersected. The second was a cul-de-sac, or knuckle cul-de-sac, one could call it. They actually eliminated the connection and put private lots between Centerville Forest and Soraya Farms in that process. In talking with the Warren County engineer, who was the individual who would actually do our survey, he was talking with the Warren County prosecutors, actually the one who takes through the process. It became a very convoluted, weedy situation, the best way to explain it. Something that was quite simple, and ORC has a lot of complication. So seeing that one option has already been presented, which is the modification of the design, alternative B, I wanted to bring it back before the trustees because the zoning commission actually tabled their discussion on the decision pending what was going to happen with this body and the commissioners. So what I'm trying to get forth today is discussion. We have individuals from Mentwood and the surrounding streets, Hackberry, and the like of Centerville Forest, who are going to bring some discussion about the appropriateness or non-appropriateness of that connection. When this was before the zoning commission, we also had individuals from Soraya Farms who had differing opinions on the issue. So I'd like for you to have discussion, see which is appropriate or not, and then give direction so that the zoning commission would then go forth with their stage three that's pending and have direction. If the alternative was selected and acted upon, ultimately the developer has to go back before Warren County Regional Planning for a replat. In essence, it's a stage 2 modification, which creates a different design network for the road, and that would then be incorporated in the preliminary. That would finalize this item so that it wouldn't be something in the future we say, oh, new trustees now want to act upon this and go forward. It would actually be a solidified modification. So that's the thumbnail update. I can answer questions in this body before you have discussion.
You guys have any questions for Jeff at this point?
I think I got most of mine answered. He and I met a little bit before the meeting, so.
Okay. If anyone would like to come up and make a comment, whoever wants to start would be more than welcome.
Hi, folks.
Hello.
My name's Mark Fullweiler. I reside at 9760 Mentwood. Was part of the original discussions about when both Soraya Farms and the community across the street at 48 were originally thought of and essentially, the plans were made essentially. So we were assured at that point in time that there would be no cut through to Mentwood, essentially the Centerville Forest. Our concerns are obviously the traffic. We've got a very nice, quiet community back there that has no through streets. So essentially, if you're there, you belong. And we don't have provisions for sidewalks or other things that would allow that kind of traffic. We're already piled 4 deep. To try and get out on the 48 is as busy as it is now. So at the end of the day, we would expect what was told to us originally, which was there would be no cut through to the FL.
Thank you very much. Anybody else want to make any comments on it? Please come on up.
I live, my name's Rob Priest, I'm on 9837 Hackberry. So I have 3 lots on Hackberry that are adjacent to the Mitwood Road crossing, and I would, as well, agree with what Mark said. I came in a little later to the neighborhood, so some of the previous discussions on that going through, I wasn't around. There's certainly a lot of issues that I could see. As Mark stated, there's no provisions for any sidewalk. The road's really not, I mean, the neighborhood was built in 1950. There are 2 horseshoe turns that come into Hackberry. People are going to be pulling out of Millwood and turning right or left. There's going to be some noise that is not going to be good, as well as some of the traffic for grandkids and all of what Mark discussed about if you got a reason to be back there, that's the only reason you're going to be back there, because it's not a through neighborhood. So with that said, I'm certainly not in favor of the adjoining Mitwood and Zariah Farms. Also, is it right if I bring this up?
Sure. You don't mind if we make copies of it?
No, not at all, not at all. So I borderline the Zariah Farms on the west, and I'll pass this around, but I always knew that they were going to build back there. I knew that was coming when I moved in 15 years ago or 13 years ago. But I never dreamed that there would not be, and I knew there was an easement and a buffer between the 2 of us. But as you're going to see, they completely have, there is no buffer. There is no easement between my property and the new houses that are going to stick right behind me. And it caused me a lot of issues. First of all, this weekend, the wind crushed me as far as the trees, and I know some of the street people have been out cleaning up trees back there over the past few weeks, few months actually. With that said, this was an area where it shaded my whole property, so I'm really having to look at some redesign of my air conditioning.
Where's your property line?
My property line, I'll pass this here since we sell it. So the property line is the telephone pole there. It's the same picture.
Okay.
Looking out over the pond. I built a pond because it was a swamp back there. I mean, there's water standing back there, it's upstairs. So when I built the pond, I needed some clay to put up the barn. So I dug the hole. I drained all the house, the barn, and everything into the pond. So now with no shade, I'm losing water by evaporation like I never had before. And it's really made a significant impact on my property. And at 57, I ain't never going to see this again. It's never going to be back. So I don't know what provisions are made to make up for the easement or buffer that was taken out. Obviously, I'd like to see some mounds put in to cover, because yearling trees are not going to do anything for me as far as an easement goes, or a buffer. But, so you add in, go ahead,
I was just going to say, probably if I'm right, there really isn't an easement there, it's just property setbacks.
As part of the stage 2, there was a conservation easement placed along this boundary. And if it were ever cut, there's requirements for vegetation to be put back. The reason that I was given was because there was a drainage area that actually got diverted, so to speak, or established closer to the property line than where initially they thought they were going to put things, so they went through and did a total clear cut. Part of the discussion we had at the zoning commission was you need to put vegetation back. Is it something that you're going to put in anticipation of homes or as a requirement with the home? And what the discussion, since the 25-foot easement area is from the rear going, or from Mr. Priest's property line going to the west, so to speak, is where that space is and there's drainage in there. Truly that buffer is probably going to be extended further west, and the developer didn't want to put in trees and vegetation in that space, and we had a discussion prior to the home because of all of the grading associated with the home. So they wanted to put in the home and then they put in the buffer to the rear as well as the buffer to the front. But, yeah, that's something that, there's, in the last section, there is still one that has to occur also. So they have basically created a mess and an expense that if they would have let some things be, it would have been a better option.
Yeah. Okay. So you're on top of it, so we know we're gonna get some kind of buffer back there with vegetation. Now, do we want to, is there any currently, is there any mounding in that?
The mounting is not a requirement, vegetation, minimum sizes are, but it's something for discussion. Definitely at the zoning commission, and if you guys have some thoughts about how you'd like to see things, that can be forwarded to the zoning commission.
I would just say, at first glance, when I look at your things here, because of, like you say, time for trees to grow back, my goodness, mounds tend to work pretty well. I have an industrial park across the street from where I live, there used to be a field. There's a mound. I can barely see the top of it, where there's
I'm fine with
vegetation.
that.
Yeah. I don't know. If it's something that we can legally do, certainly we should approach it with them. What do you think? I mean, otherwise they're gonna put in, what's the requirement, 7 foot? We don't, I know you don't know off the top of your head.
Well, the requirement for trees is a 4-foot evergreen or 1.5 inch caliper deciduous, so you're looking at that as opposed to a full mature.
Chris didn't even know that. Of course he does.
Of course you do.
Sorry, Jeff.
Well,
Lots of these would be questions, so.
well then, if we can
Yeah.
certainly work with the developer and convince them that they need to put in some mounding, put trees
Before
on
they
top of
plant
it.
their trees.
Yeah, before they plant the trees. Yes,
Double
exactly.
down a little bit.
Yeah, because that's right, they should have paid, they messed that up. They messed it
It
up.
literally was a day. I mean, it was gone, the whole thing, I came back from out of town business and the forest was gone.
Well, I'm inclined to say that they should not get away with that. You all agree?
I completely agree.
Okay. And I know so you can put some direction to the zoning board.
Yeah, we'll talk to the zoning commission about that, I'll talk to the developer in anticipation based on this discussion.
The other thing I would say too, in my opinion, we'll get the opinion from these gentlemen too, but, I agree with that cut through doesn't, cut through there. The cul-de-sac as proposed, probably a name change, so we don't have another Metwood Road there, but over on the Sawyer Farm side, that knuckle is a good option, and, that's my opinion anyway, change the name of the road and no connection into Centerville Forest.
Well, if you did a knuckle, wouldn't it eliminate that extension, so the street wouldn't even be there to be named?
But the problem is that Soraya Farms already has Mintwood.
Oh, it's on that side, that's right,
Yeah.
okay, I'm sorry.
So that would have
That's
to
right.
be, in discussing with the Warren County Engineer's Office, ultimately the numeric element of that street will stay the same, but the alpha area would change. So they would just change the name, but not their street number. So that was a way to, for the handful of homes that are there, make some good of, you're not having a total address change, but it would make some sense.
We suggested Wadered Spa for the new.
You did what?
Whichever name you'd like it to be on the board, I think it really does.
You know way better.
I'm sure it'll be some form of wine.
And I'm not here, apparently, I don't know what that
Okay, well, will you,
I think we can check it lane.
anything else you want to say?
No,
quickly?
has there been any, persons wanting that coming to you?
Wanting a connection.
Mhm.
At the zoning commission meeting, there were individuals from Soraya Farm who lived on Monica Circle, which is further off of Lamont, so Lamont comes in, this would come to the south, that were wanting a secondary access.
Was that one family?
Yes,
Or
it was one
that's only
household.
one family showed up?
Yeah, at this point in time, it's just they're the only ones in favor. We've had multiple housefuls.
Well, in all fairness, even if they had several, I can't see that I can change my mind to.
Oh, yeah, I just
Not
wanted to
make it-
see if there was
Yeah.
a groundswell that we weren't aware of, and if they had reasons that we weren't aware of.
I think it creates more problems than it solves.
You bet.
And I think that's how we have to look at it from our perspective. and, whether it's speed, or going to your mailbox, all those things, to me, you folks have lived in that area for a long time, most of you, and I see no reason to change the integrity of it.
We will pass our thoughts on to the zoning commission, and, not that they're going to do what we suggest, but I expect that they'll certainly take it into consideration, and then move that on to Warren County. Will they go to planning commission, or just
Well, ultimately, if you're endorsing the alternative of B, then that would be something that they would have stage 3. That would be the final for the stage 3, but since it's the road network change, it would go back for stage 2 with regional planning, which then becomes back to you after it goes to the zoning commission. So
Okay.
it's less convoluted than the vacation of the road right away, but it's still a convoluted process. So ultimately, you would have final say.
Which is fine.
If I might ask, the mounding, how do I follow up? Is there be a further meeting on the mounding suggestion?
Well, you're going to have the zoning commission stage 3 discussion on the first
You might-
Monday in December.
You might just, stage 3, which does what?
I'm sorry, stage 3, which is the final site plan review.
Okay.
So during
So-
the site plan, this suggestion will come up, and I'm sure Jeff's gonna have suggestions about mounting.
Right, and since
Your
they're going,
pictures would be very useful for the.
I'll have them, because people wonder who I pissed off to, have them tear the porch down.
Especially with the naming or.
Centerville Forge is no longer the Forge.
Looks like Centerville Plain.
Thanks for all the time and consideration.
Certainly, certainly.
I do want to point out the other adjacent property that's affected by the clearing of it is this lady here.
We would suggest that you all attend that meeting and make sure that the commission, the zoning commission hears that and sees whatever.
That would be, what,
Yep.
date?
the first Monday in December.
First meeting in December for the zoning commission,
At 7 o'clock.
which is on a
Monday.
Monday night,
First Monday in December.
which I believe
Third.
is the third, yeah.
Here, 7 o'clock.
That'll be posted on our website as well. So you can, if there's any changes, I'd always suggest you follow up and check the website.
So that's, excuse me, so that's in reference to the mounding now. The cut through is a,
That's reference to.
It's reference to the stage 3 approval.
that whole,
Revised plat.
so we do need to be there as a
Wouldn't hurt a thing.
understood.
Yeah, I wouldn't separate the items.
Yeah,
Got it.
It's
yeah.
all going to be
Kinda
a
keep this
combination.
together.
Okay,
Yes.
that's cool, that's what I wanted to see. All right, thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay,
Is there anybody else that wants to be heard?
yeah, sorry, anybody else?
Is it a benefit for the record if we put our names?
Can't hurt anything, go on.
So,
My name's Kelly Creed, and I also live on 9837 Hackberry Place. And we have moved in there 15 years ago with the forest behind our woods. So I would not like having its own street. And like they said, we don't have sidewalks, we don't have road lines on the road, we don't have sewer, we don't have curbs, kids ride their bikes on the road, more traffic to get out on 48. And the second part, as far as the landscaping, would much be improved if we got the mail. So,
Thank you very much. Come on up, take your time, do it fine.
My name is James Ewing, I live at 9763 Netwood. I thought it was pretty well cut and dried, it was coming through. The main reason I've come here is if it does come through, I'd like the sewers to come with it.
Oh, okay.
We are in a swamp,
Oh, yeah.
and there are only two streets that don't, two main streets, Nutwood and Netwood, that don't have a sewer. If that's coming through there and the sewer is coming basically with it, they're there, right there, sewer, the septic and the storm, I would love to see the sewers come down with it, because it's actually a health hazard the way we're situated. We're in the middle of a swamp. And we're already paying taxes on sewers and water removal and all that. I don't know exactly how that's, you guys might look into that and see why we're paying for sewers that we don't have. So I would appreciate it if you could find a way to do that.
I don't think that you are, but we can certainly clarify that. The sewer districts are set up based on, and you shouldn't be paying anything for it, so.
Well, they state it different ways from year to year, but it says water removal and disposal and all that, so it tends to sound like sewers as opposed to drainage. The reason they can't build there is there's a moratorium on building because you can't put septic tanks in anymore. The strata is too close to the surface and it won't go away. But if that comes through, I can't see any reason to not put the sewers on through. It'd only be logical. What do you think?
Well, I know we've looked at putting the sewer in there a dozen times. And every time the surveys have been run, there's not enough fall to go from front to back out towards 48.
Well, with this coming in the back now, it seems to me like you should be able to look to that. I mean, it's gotta be lower back there than.
I don't know the depth there.
Well, that's, I mean, for all intent and purpose, that's a different group of people to talk to.
Well, I'm just putting this forward.
Oh, I understand your concern, for
I think it's
sure.
an idea that would be logical to come if they do what they say they're planning on doing, sort of tie it to it and get some sewer there, because it's not a good situation there.
Never has been.
And,
Today's
anything you guys
standard-
could do to help us.
Today's standard, they wouldn't let you build it.
Right, because the strata's too close, the non-core strata's too close, and you can't put septic tanks there because they're gonna be above the strata. But, I would appreciate any help you guys could work it out. Thank you.
Thank you. What stuff the sewer's gonna be on that side?
I have no idea. Kind of discussion we have with the Warren County Engineer.
So that's gonna be Neil in his office.
Argue with conversation. Because, I mean, the first thing that pops in my mind, you don't have to have the road cut through to get the sewer, possibly.
Right.
Right, if
There could be
this is
easement.
still a paper street, there's gonna be a connection, there's proposed connection for the water main,
Right.
so that there's redundancy there, so.
Right. Intensive conversation? Yes, sir.
Well, to that point, I mean, I know people don't like to hear this, but they are paper streets, and until they're vacated, they're supposed to be held in trust for a street, and that isn't your rule, and that's not, I mean, that's just state law. So, until they're vacated, it's a paper street that can be used for a street. And that, again, that's not this body's job to vacate it or not, but people need to be aware of that. Whoever's telling people that this is always there's never gonna be a cut through here when there's a paper street there, either A, didn't know, or B,
Made promises they couldn't keep.
made promises they didn't have any business keeping, or couldn't keep.
Well, I think we're solving that side. I think really.
I agree. This is what's solving.
At this point, the easement's still a possibility. Neil and his office need to do it, if they need to look into, that's not what we do.
What this body is doing tonight is hopefully alleviating that problem, or helping to alleviate that problem,
Right.
by its recommendation.
Might be the only opportunity. It all depends on the depth of the sewer on the Sawyer Farm side. Maybe an opportunity that could actually happen.
I'll talk with
And
sanitation.
that all ties to Montgomery County.
Yeah, and the ultimate
Yeah.
flows to Montgomery County and Green County. Yeah, we don't have the capacity to take care of it.
Leave that alone.
So, what else is it?
Leave that alone.
Okay. Moving on to, anything
Thank
else
you all.
from?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening. We have, we have a few more items to go through, you're certainly welcome to stay, or you can all leave whenever, but,
Riveting stuff.
Yeah, if you have problems sleeping, you might wanna stick around.
This is if I could.
So Matt, you
Yeah.
wanna give me copies of that and I'll stop by tomorrow and pick them up, or?
Absolutely.
From the
That work
discussion,
best for you,
it appears that your recommendation is to go for the.
I'll stop by tomorrow.
Yeah, we need to make a motion to that effect.
okay, is there a motion that has, as presented by Mr. Ray Farm in section life not will be part of that development, and they're being connected.
I think that covers it.
So moved.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Thank you.
Well, I got out of it.
You know how many times you've been, I've been involved in, and I'm curious, half a dozen surveys, to see if there's any way we could get it to 48. The survey's right out there, 48, you can't get deep enough to fit it.
Yeah. We'll see what
This might be a problem.
2018 book gives
Well,
us.
you know, we'd have to get an easement to one of these properties here, but that could be done.
Yeah, they're gonna have water that's gonna run east-west across the property anyway to go to the paper street, so there's opportunity for additional easements.
And have y'all never been back there in the summertime? Mosquitoes and sometimes even the sanitary food. It is horrendous.
It's a swamp.
It's a swamp.
Unfortunately.
But anyway, moving on, if you have nothing else.
I have nothing at this time, sir. Thank you.
Administration, we have 5131, a resolution declaring exhibited personal property, including automobile as surplus, and approving an internet auction, direct sale, donation, disposal, destruction, and direct sale of personal property.
Right, we have a couple of cruisers that have been decommissioned and stripped, ready for internet auction.
Okay, is there a motion to approve 5131?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah. And we have a request to authorize the township administrator to enter into a repair agreement with AAA wastewater to make repairs to private sewer at 6908 North State Route 48. That is estimated to cost up to $3,500.
And include a $1,000 deposit, which is not our typical financial MO. Don't generally like to turn money over until the job's done, but that's the requirement to get us scheduled, so.
Nobody else showed any interest in doing it?
Unfortunately, it sounds like the leach lines are starting to fail at 6908, and it's one of the sad, unfortunate realities of being a landlord.
I have a question. At this point, why are we a landlord? Well, we can keep the easement to the Hoffman property.
Yeah. Well, the idea at one time was to, we don't buy that property and buy the property to the south.
Have a larger entry.
Have an expanded entry into that, if we ever were going to connect to, or even to just have public come through that way. That was the idea at the time, and maybe that's not a great idea.
Well, there's more than just those two, though, because you've got the third property that's back behind the small house to the south of it. I never knew why we owned it to start with.
Isn't there two at the small house and then?
No, there's one behind it.
I apologize for interrupting you. We could, if the trustees prefer, could discuss this in executive session too, because it is for property, but.
I don't have any problem discussing it publicly.
I'm just giving the board the option.
You just like to drag out the meeting, and that's not what I'm here for.
Fair enough. I've missed you.
I know, Brian. Welcome back, buddy.
Yeah.
To expand that driveway, we would have to buy three of those properties.
In the third one, I would think, Scott, would you think that third property is probably the most valuable of the three by a long shot? It's a pretty nice place.
Yeah, they keep it real nice too, and they're very vocal about what goes on in that area.
I just,
Good watchdogs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, so again, when we bought that was a long-term thought process. We actually, at one point, read estimates to widen that entryway, and because that hole's so big down there to the south side.
Right.
It was quite a substantial amount at that time But anyway, that's really the reason why we got a hold of that property. Was,
I just-
It's been and out of there, but I don't remember much more than that about it.
We've never discussed it in my almost 7 years, and,
No, that's right.
I understood part of it, but, once the smaller home to the south, that homeowner or business owner,
Right, try to hold it up.
yeah, tried to hold us up for that property, then it became real cost prohibitive, and then as I started looking into more of it when we were looking at the Hoffman property itself, I just don't know, I don't see the benefit at this point to keeping it. We still would have the easement, we still have the responsibility for the cemetery that's behind it, and then the Hoffman property further back. So, and, you know, obviously, we've got to make a move on the Hoffman home, but this is all part of that discussion, I suppose, but,
Well, do you guys, you want to look into possibly getting realtor, some comments from a realtor on what we can get out of that? Is that the next step? Or would we?
well, Carrie already manages it for us, and she's a realtor, we can certainly have her do what it is.
Sure. It's okay with me.
I mean, it's,
Or we need a little more information.
Right.
Before we do it.
we're about to put $4,000 into it.
Yeah, and who knows what else.
Right. Yeah, so, I mean,
Always.
So, 2 points, with all due respect. First of all, even if we were to sell that property, you're gonna have to fix this.
no, absolutely, that's not,
Yeah.
And the second point is that, to raise the, Hoffman house, that was a little bit beyond our budgetary needs this year. So I am planning to put it into our 2019 program appropriation, just for the board's information. As you're discussing the greater.
okay, so the greater good of that is, if we can sell the house, it's not gonna take as much of a hit on the general fund as it to raise the house behind it.
I disagree.
Why don't you talk to Carrie and, after, we probably ought, I don't know, should we get more than one realtor to give us a approximate sale price, or just rely on her? Probably knows it's good.
She's pretty good, yeah, I mean, I don't know that we can, but I would,
I don't think we need multiple until we decide if we want to.
yeah.
Let's see what kind of range
Yeah.
we're in, and
Do you want her to run the comps and see?
See what kind of range we're in and see what kind of legal, I need to give him more work, but,
I'm not, I'm just calling Gary.
just, we've got a renter in there now, obviously, so with our outs, I'm sure we've got clauses in our rental contract, but, that's my thoughts on it. I mean, we're facing expenses to do with the Hoffman property, where it's, I quite frankly assumed it was tied directly to the Hoffman deal when it happened, so if it was a separate thing and there was no ties, I just.
separate, I don't remember what we paid for it, but it was just a separate deal.
Okay.
Shall I ask Karen if she's appetite is for making an offer on it?
If you don't remember.
I mean, assuming we can legally do so. Right, that's what I'm looking at right now.
Okay, yeah, check out,
To do a direct
check out
sale.
those avenues, and,
I'm guessing we can. I'm gonna guess
Probably
they would have to put
Oh,
all
yeah,
our.
yeah, correct.
sort of auction.
That's what I'm looking for.
Here, at least this.
It's on the 510.
That's the
I like to
case.
see the value.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a nice home.
it's 4 bedrooms, isn't it?
Nothing wrong with it, I can't remember 3 or 4.
I think it's a big ranch, yeah.
The leach lines need to be checked.
It's gonna be great.
There's that lease lines, you won't have a room for them.
That's right. Hey. Okay,
Well, let's, did we do a motion to approve this?
No,
Okay,
I just
is there a
want-
motion to approve the expenditure to AAA wastewater?
so moved.
Second?
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. And then, if you would check into that, Matt, that
Will
would
do.
be a very good idea. Okay, anything else under administration? Moving on to the police department, we have a request to authorize staff to surplus and trade in our 10 current 10-year-old service rifles. purchase 12 service rifles not to exceed 12,000. Is that 12,000 after the trade-in value?
No, that would be the top end, so not to exceed, Keesler's gave us a trade-in value, I think the net would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 89, 39, 16, that we'd actually pay out between the difference.
Okay, so you're giving us about less than $4,000 for the $400 a piece around numbers for the trade-ins.
Correct.
Okay.
What did we spend on them new 10 years ago?
I think they were in the mid to high nines, like $9.89 a piece, if I remember right. We got two bids. Keesler's was at $1,029.93 a unit. Vance was at $1,030.10 a unit, so Keesler's was the cheaper of the two by a few pennies. Keesler's alone would give us an advance notification of how much we could get the trade-in. We've used Keesler's for the rifles previously, so they're cheaper per unit. We have paraphernalia on the current rifles. We would take that off the lighting packages, the sighting packages, and roll those over, so we're not getting to that extra expense, so they're still pretty good.
Haven't a few of those failed?
Yeah, we use an EOTech electronic sight. Some of those have failed, but the EOTech has stepped up, and they've been giving us a certificate for half off the units, so I'm not cheat and keep using that certificate as long as they keep replacing any of those that fail, rather than just trying to out and out replace, because the others are still operating. But in the meantime, they can give us those coupons, and I think we've had to order two now. We currently have one rifle that's failed that's we're going to have to get fixed, or something done with it. This is the third weapons platform, and the last weapons platform to bring together. 2 years ago, we brought shotguns that were at 10 years or a little bit more than that. We replaced those at that benchmark, and we went to a shorter version of the shotgun for maneuverability. A couple years ago, we also did the handguns, but then we got that offer last year to replace and reset the cycle for $400 to trade in all the guns, which was just, obviously silly not to take. Here went this, and our current rifles are they have a 16.5-inch barrel. These would have a 10.5-inch barrel, so we reduce that. And the reason being is, back in the old days, you showed up and you set up with a big long gun, with a big long scope, and you waited until the SWAT team got here. And with, unfortunately, the school shooting environment and having to get into buildings and maneuver around, those longer weapons are more difficult to maneuver around in that environment. We train with the handgun and the AR-15 style platform because they shoot one projectile. We try not to get shotguns involved in that because you end up with buckshot and stuff going everywhere, and it's not what we want in the hallway of school. So that's a pretty important component of the new strategy of school shooting issues. So this would give us that ability to be a little bit more maneuverability with the new weapons platform. So we're at that cycle too for 10 years. We probably run 10 to 15,000 rounds between each gun, some a little more because the SWAT team sometimes takes those or the SRT guys take those to shoot a little bit more at their qualifications and stuff. So this is the last weapons platform I'll be bringing in for anytime soon. So the request was $12,514.16 maximum. The trade looks like between by the time we get done, that would be $89.39.16. I do need to make an adjustment in the agenda. We have 11 rifles to trade, not 10, and carry that over into council would like us to do a resolution if you see the need to allow us to do this to allow us permission to trade that to Keesler's, and the resolution needs to be changed to 11 also.
I've so noted it in the resolution. So we can have a resolution on that straight because we're getting rid of that.
In your packets.
5132.
Anthony, you have any questions?
Okay. Do we have inventory and itemized on the trade-ins? What we're trading in, what we're getting?
Each one is serialized, yes. We would be giving those 11 weapons and those matching serial numbers to 12. And the reason there's 12 is in the last 10 years we've increased car size by one, so it's additional more than that. And we keep the cars all ready for that event. They have a double stack in there with the shotgun and the AR-15 style in the cockpit, so the reason it made a difference is because we have one additional car.
I was just wondering why there wasn't a list of what we're trading in.
Part of that's my fault. I was trying to haggle some deals to the last minute. We even talked to Dad's here in the township. He doesn't have the licensing to do it. He's trying to tell me that. I had a little bit of a worry about dropping 11 rifles into our community that potentially be resold locally, and these are going to Indiana, and then Keyswick deals with law enforcement and military recycling stuff, so some confidence we'll probably never see them again. Part of that was I was trying to find a better deal on the trade-in, and they asked us whether we wanted to play long, and Dad couldn't step up.
I am glad to add a schedule to the official record.
Yeah.
Of serial numbers. Okay. Regardless of what the board decides to do with this particular piece of legislation.
This was in the budget for this year. I mean, you staggered these over.
Right, we talked to the board previously,
Yeah.
and warned you that we would have limit platforms
Right.
right in front of you.
Yeah, not a surprise. Okay, any other questions for John about this first item under the police and resolution 5132?
Mr. Wade, I think that needs to just be amended to say 11.
Yes, I
Oh, you already did?
Yes,
I
sir.
apologize, I thought you said in the minutes, not the, very good, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
That is motion to approve this expenditure to Tesla.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
And then we have a request to purchase the 2019 qualification and duty ammunition for advanced law enforcement at a cost of $4,267.
We've expended the stockpile we have, we're getting low, this will allow us to re-up that and be prepared for next year's qualifications.
Anybody have any questions about this purchase? Is there a motion to approve the purchase of the ammunition?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. And we have a request to purchase 5 replacement radar units for the cruisers from MPH Industries, cost of $95,900.
Yeah, for years, we've gotten away with, when we participated in click it and ticket campaigns and so forth, once we completed that and provided the state with our statistics, they gave us a radar unit. So for quite some time, we've been operating off free radar units in the cars as we completed those different programs, and Base has kept that magically managed with that. But we've got some that, and they've done away with that program a while back. So we've got some that are getting 12, 13 years old, and repair issues, and have to send the cones off constantly, get them repaired. They crack and get water in them. This would outfit, I think, 5 of our vehicles with those new radar units, and kind of start fresh. And then we're finally apart, start paying some of our own radar. We've gotten away with that program for quite some time. The state gives us a take us away. So.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about the replacement for the 5 radar units? Is there a motion to approve this purchase?
So moved.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah. Anything else, Chief?
Halloween next week, we'll be out in force for that, fire department. They
What night
start-
is it?
It's,
Wednesday,
Week
the night.
Next Wednesday.
Yeah, week from now.
Okay.
You already got your Cracker Jacks taken care of?
John took care of them this year.
We'll be some.
We'll be out.
We'll hit every Sam's we can find to get enough supply. We've been working on it for a month.
Okay. Fire district, we have a request to authorize payment of Clear Creek's share of the 2018 outdoor warning sirens, inspection, testing, and repair program at a cost of $28,9575.
Yes, our annual preventative maintenance that we split with the city 50/50. One thing to note is we had them reprogrammed this year, so we have to pay $25 per siren to do that. But the benefit is now, and we've been working for a while with the County Chiefs Association, we've now divided the county into quadrants. Currently, when you set off one, you set off all of them in the county. So one time in particular was a Friday night football game, really nice night here in Springboro, but south east part of the county, they were getting hammered with storms and saw a tornado, and they set off the outdoor warning sirens, and high school full of people in the stands, it's a beautiful day, and the outdoor warning sirens are going off. We're like, what in the world is going on? So, you know,
And now we're set up in quadrants and.
we effective January 1 of next year, for everybody to get in their street program. So it'll be nice that,
Yeah.
to
Have a
just.
little more control. Great, very good. So a motion to approve this purchase for $20,957.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Gabbard?
Yes.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yeah.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. We have a request to authorize repair up to medic unit 307, a 2012 Freightliner, totaling $2,071.
Which will need to be amended. I got to start my day this morning with an email from FIDA stating they found another problem with the transmission control module, and they're just gonna need to replace that also, so it's gonna be a 3393.87.
393.
87.
And that's the total,
That
not
will be,
an addition.
that's the total, yeah.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for the chief about this expenditure? Hearing none, there's a motion to approve the 3393.87.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Anything else tonight?
Just been busy with the fire department, had a house fire last week, and a couple pediatric runs recently that have been pretty, stressing to the crew. Forwarded that information to you guys to review. So that was a good note from a nurse at Children's Hospital, so that was nice to
Very
get
nice.
that, accolade from a peer. You get a lot from the community, but also to get it from a peer was nice. Crews are really
Showed
good.
that with my wife.
Yeah,
She appreciates when
I'm sure she.
her brethren do things like that, so.
Other than that, thank you.
Anybody have any questions for the chief? Roads and Parks Department? Anything?
Gus had to sit here all night.
Nothing to report.
That's all. Give us an update on Florida.
It's a mess down there. I went down 2 days before, got evacuated, went back down 2 days last week to clean up, and the TV doesn't do it justice, it's not even close.
You're directly adjacent to Mexico Beach.
Right,
which took
right next to it.
the brunt
Yeah.
of Hurricane Michael.
And your dwelling?
I think it's gonna be condemned. That's kind of what we're getting this feedback, but playing the waiting game now.
Oh, I was down there. So my anniversary trip was supposed to go to Tampa, and the storm surge was 2 to 4 feet in Tampa, and we switched the night before to go, because they kept talking about it going to get worse a little bit south, and then it turned a little bit again, and we went to Fort Myers, and the day we got to Fort Myers, it had passed 36 hours before, and the water was dirt. I mean, it was churning. It was really ongoing. And we sat and watched all the, it's horrific. I mean, how anybody didn't leave, that, even if it's a tube, get out.
Yeah, it was bad. It was humbling. The people were great.
Yeah.
Seafood everywhere. It was an experience. I mean, it really
Yeah.
was. It was really humbling. The surge came up so far at our place that it came in the dryer vent, went through the dryer hose, filled the whole hose, and then filled the whole house with 2 inches of water. So
Through the dryer.
Through the dryer. So it was interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Special kudos to the Central Runway Department. If you notice, the painting and gutters are on the administrative building here. Our road crew took time out of their schedules last week to paint the gutter boards and soffits to prepare for the gutters to be underneath with that job. So, they did a great job.
Good job. Anything else tonight? Anything under staff updates?
I have just, so we're on your calendar on the next meeting, which is November the 14th. I have a start time at 4:45, but the first interview is scheduled for 5 o'clock for the BZA interviews. So you only have 2 interviews before your 5:30 meeting. Just want to make sure that we're still on board for that time.
4:45.
Thanks, everybody, for making adjustments to my work schedules. Been a little goofy lately. I've been assured it's going to calm down right before they offered me a promotion.
Okay.
I think that goes together.
And stuff will come out in your packet, but I just wanted to make sure we got on your calendar for
You've got two good viable candidates.
Here we have, two individuals